My brother looked right at me during Dad's birthday dinner and said, "Pack your bags, loser." Everyone at the table froze for half a second, then pretended to laugh like it was some kind of joke. But I knew it wasn't. That sentence hit harder than it should have. Years of rivalry, little digs, and unspoken resentment sat between us, and tonight, he decided to throw it in my face. I forced a smile, but inside I was boiling. Dad was laughing with the guests, Mom was busy cutting cake, and my brother was leaning back in his chair like he just scored the winning point. I picked up my phone under the table, my heart pounding. I had a number saved for moments when I'd had enough, when silence just wouldn't cut it. I dialed. 1 ring, 2 rings, then a voice I trusted answered. I spoke 5 words that would change everything. He crossed the line tonight. I didn't give details. I didn't have to. They knew exactly what to do. I hung up, took a sip of water, and rejoined the fake laughter. My brother had no idea that the game had just shifted. Our rivalry wasn't born overnight. We grew up in the same house, under the same rules, but never on the same team. He was the golden child, the one who always managed to be in the spotlight. I was the one working quietly in the background, doing well but never loud enough to be noticed. Over the years, his jokes about me got sharper. His little wins always celebrated louder than mine. First, I brushed it off. Family teasing, I told myself. But it wasn't just teasing. It was a pattern. My brother had made it his personal mission to remind me that in his eyes, I was always a step behind. And I played along until that birthday. That night, his smirk was different. It wasn't about being funny. It was about putting me down in front of everyone we cared about. That's why my call wasn't random. It was years of quiet patience finally cashing in. The voice on the other end didn't even need convincing. They'd seen enough over the years to know my brother's behavior wasn't harmless. "Leave it to me," they said. And just like that, the plan was in motion. I didn't know exactly what they'd do, but I trusted it would hit where it hurt, without me lifting another finger. Back at the table, I watched my brother laugh and pour himself another drink. He thought he'd won. What he didn't know was that moves were already being made behind the scenes. Sometimes power isn't about shouting louder. It's about pulling the right string at the right time. That call was my string, and it was about to unravel everything. The rest of the night felt strange. Everyone ate, laughed, took photos, and sang happy birthday to Dad. But I was watching every glance, every conversation. A couple of relatives were already whispering in the corner. My brother didn't notice, he was too busy basking in his own little moment of glory. I stayed quiet, smiled when I had to, and let the clock tick. Power shifts slowly at first like a tide. Then it crashes in. I didn't have to do anything but wait. The next morning, I woke up to messages from relatives I hadn't heard from in months. Congratulating me, asking me questions, offering help with projects I'd mentioned ages ago. I knew exactly what had happened. My call had worked. People were talking. My brother, meanwhile, was posting old vacation photos like nothing was wrong. He hadn't figured it out yet, but the ground under him was starting to crack. Took him 2 days to notice. Suddenly, he was quieter in the family group chat. He called me once, casually asking if I'd said something to anyone. I played dumb. No, why? He didn't answer. That's when I knew he'd heard something. And whatever he'd heard, it was eating at him. By the end of the week, my brother was trying to win people back. Little favors, forced smiles, extra charm at family gatherings. But the shift had already happened. People weren't just seeing him differently, they were seeing me differently. And once people change their view of you, it's hard to undo. Family events got awkward fast. My brother avoided making eye contact with me. Conversations between us were short, polite, and loaded. I could feel his frustration every time someone complimented me or asked me for advice instead of him. I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. The silence said enough. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about balance. For years, I'd let him control the narrative, let him be the voice everyone listened to. All I did was shift the spotlight just enough to remind people I was here too. And maybe to remind him that I wasn't the easy target he thought I was. One night, after another tense dinner, he finally snapped. He pulled me aside and asked point blank, "What did you do?" I just smiled and said, "I made one call." His jaw tightened. He didn't say another word. But his eyes told me everything. He knew he'd underestimated me for the last time. I thought I'd feel triumphant. In a way I did. But more than anything I felt calm. I didn't need to keep fighting him. I made my point. People now knew my voice mattered. I'd shown him and myself that I could stand my ground without shouting. Weeks later, at another family gathering, my brother sat next to me for the first time in years without a single insult. He even asked about my work. It wasn't friendship. Not yet. But it was respect. And that, more than anything, was worth the call I made that night. Sometimes you don't need to win every battle. You just need to win the right one.